Help yourself and remember. Engage with what you are reading. Help yourself with tough words. And remember what you have read. And the very last thing you want to do is read with, let me get my cursor there, read with confidence. Confidence. Well, that's a big word for some of you. If you're in kindergarten, you might not have seen some of the words we have. Maybe our second graders might be more familiar. This word is confidence. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with that word. Maybe you've heard it before. Confidence means that you are really proud of what you're reading. And you're ready to show off a little bit about your reading. If you are afraid of reading, when you read, it's going to be harder.
Mom,
because your voice is going to show that you're having trouble. When you read with confidence, you're more likely to have a good flow in your reading. And it can help bolster you up when you're not sure if you're doing it correctly. And oftentimes, students feel like when they're reading, they have to read it correctly. And if they make a mistake, ooh, they're a bad reader. Well, that's not true. Sometimes, even adults have trouble sounding out words or reading correctly, and it takes patience and thinking. Oh, by the way, I talked about the word patience, and I'm thinking that maybe some of the youngsters don't know what the word patience means. It means being able to wait and to be gentle with yourself or someone else. If something takes a long time or is hard, you just keep working at it. That's what the word patience means. So, again, engage with what you're reading, help yourself with tough words, remember what you have read, and read with confidence. Hurrah. Okay, so those 4 things are what power reading is in a nutshell. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the 3 steps in reading. So you might think, I didn't know there were steps in reading, but they're not too hard. At the beginning, it takes a little more time, but as you practice, as you know, practice makes perfect. The more you practice reading, the easier it is. So when you pick up a book that you like, let's see if I can find one. I have a book, Beauty and the Beast, or Sleeping Beauty, actually, and I'm looking at it. What do you usually do when you first see a book? Let me see if I can go back up to the questions and see. Hi, Sarah. We need sizes. Okay, hi. You've got a series called Puppy Place. Cool. Oh, okay. Anyway, let's see. So when you pick up a book, do we need a book? No, you don't need a book right now. But when you do read, I'm trying to see if anyone can participate in this way. We'll see. What do you do first when you start reading? What do you do first? Well, one of the things that you might do is you might look at the cover and see the picture. And sometimes when you're choosing a book in the library, you choose the book because of the beautiful picture. And you might actually look through it, see what the book is about by looking at the words or the pictures. And some people want to jump right into the reading. Okay? Does that sound like anything that you do as a reader? Let's see if we can get any comments. Okay. Looking, seeing. Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you for answering. Yes, you do that. Okay, good. Good. Let's see. Does anyone else? What do you do when you start to read? When you grab a book out of the library? Let's see. Okay. Anyway, I think the number of people make it difficult for responding. So, what we do as power readers is we begin by skim reading. Okay. Has anyone heard of that before? Skim reading? Well, skimming means buzzing through what you're reading. rather than just picking up the book, opening up to page 1 and saying, I'm going to start right here reading. Skim reading is a way of getting an idea of what you're going to read before you actually start reading it. Okay? All right. So, let's talk a little bit about how we skim read. Okay. Skim reading, of course, is checking out the book. And we are going to be doing some practice in checking out our books. So, let's talk a little bit about some things that you can do to check out a book. First, you want to think about having an idea of what you are reading. And to discover what you're reading, the first thing you do is you look at the title. So it's a little hard to see because it's cut off, but the title of the book that we're going to be talking about today is How to Catch a Mermaid. How to Catch a Mermaid. So the title is the most important aspect of the book when you're skim reading because it tells you a little bit about what you're going to be talking about. Oftentimes you won't have a book titled How to Catch a Mermaid and have it be about a tow truck. So when you see the title, you think, okay, if the title is How to Catch a Mermaid, then I can guess a little bit about the topic of the book. And the book is probably about a mermaid. And I might even ask myself, okay, what do I know about mermaid? What is a mermaid? Is it a real creature? Is it a fantasy creature? Well, I never have seen a mermaid in real life, and I know a mermaid is a animal that has a body of a fish and a body of a human, usually a girl. And so that's not something that's real life. So I know what type of book I'm going to be reading. This is not going to be an information book. This is going to be a fictional book. It's going to be maybe a fairy tale or something that has some magic involved, not necessarily a realistic book. So then I know what I'm going to be looking for and seeing to get excited about the book. So the title can really help. Now, for some of you, maybe our first and second graders, the title is very easy for you to read. For our kindergartners, it might be a little difficult. So remember, when we talked a little bit about power reading, we talked about helping yourself with tough words. So let's say this word down here, MERMAID. You might not know what that word is, and that makes it hard for you to skim read. So what you can do is you can sound it out with what you know about the letters, mermaid. For our first graders who might not have seen this word, you might know that maid is spelled M-A-I-D, so you know how to pronounce this one. You just add mer and maid to it, and you get mermaid. Or, as you're reading How to Catch a, and you look at the picture and you say, well, it has an M in it, and I know that's a mermaid, so the word is probably mermaid. Now, if you get really stuck, you can find an adult and ask them nicely, hey, can you help me, please? What is this word? And they can tell you that it's mermaid. So that'll help our kindergartners, our pre-K kiddos, and some of our first graders who might not know all of the words that they see in the titles of books that they're reading. Okay? But if you are a kindergartner and you want to skim read, or if you're a second grader and you want to skim read quickly, you can do the next part as well, which is looking at the pictures. Now you can see a little bit with this picture in How to Catch a Mermaid. You can see the tail, and you can see that we're in the ocean. Okay, let me go very quickly to our book, How to Catch a Mermaid. So you can see the little fish there. That's very cute. Okay, and then you just go through. All right, so we were in the sea, now we're on the beach. And we see a seagull overhead. We see 2 children and a dog. And we see sea gulls, and the ocean, some rocks. Okay. Now we see our main character here. There's a little girl. We can see she's dipping her toes in the ocean. We see little dots that shows her imagination, and she's thinking about what it must be like under the sea. She's at the beach. She's got some beach supplies. You can see some different animals in the sea. Oops, I skipped a picture. All right, so now she's actually in the ocean. And we see a little tail right here. I wonder what that is. So if I look back to our first page, reminds me of
Vanessa, we were kind of stuck on page 16.
Page 16 of the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I will pause for just a sec. Let me see, new share. All right, so I gotta actually share different, okay. I'm so sorry. Thank you for letting me know. Let me backtrack here before everyone gets confused. Okay, so I am moving now. Can you see on my screen the picture book now, the online?
Yeah, it says How to Catch a Mermaid.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so the second part of our skim reading is looking at the pictures. And when we look at the pictures in the book, we can help ourselves figure out what might be happening. So this cover page, you can see, as I discussed before, there's the mermaid. We can see her hair in her hand. We can't see her face yet. Maybe that's why we're catching a mermaid. We can't see her yet. We want to know. This next picture, as you can see, shows us a seagull flying overhead. And then we see two little children running with a dog. They must be on the beach. We can see they're on the beach with the water and the seagulls. Now we see our main character. We can look at some things about her. She's at the beach. She's dipping her toes in the water. And boy, that feels good today because it was in the 70s here. We've got some sea animals here, starfish. Okay, see, she brought her beach supplies. She's playing in the sand. But it looks like she is dreaming up what it must be like to be underwater. And look, there she is. Same girl, she's underwater now. See the fish and the tail. And that tail reminds me of something. So if I go back, I can see, yep, there's the tail. I bet that's the mermaid. So I can see her chasing after the mermaid. And then we're back on the ocean. So she could be just imagining that. And we see her friend and her puppy dog. And we see, for those of you, Campy, Pappy's Sea Shop and Sub Rental. Okay, so it's a little store. It's on the beach, all the sand. So she's running away and she's smiling. There's a lighthouse, seagulls. Okay, she's running into the ocean and they're running with her. That reminds me of that picture we saw earlier. So this is really important. Them running on the beach. Now we can see the sea. And we see some fishing rods and a net. Well, if we're catching something, you definitely would need a net. Okay, now we see them looking in a book. We see some sea creatures over here. Okay, now there's a jewelry box here with some crabs. We see a crown. We see seaweed. Looks like they're trying to trap something. There's the trap right there. Yep, they are trying to trap something. You can see it with the hands. All right, she's really determined. He's reading in a book, maybe giving her directions. Well, the dog looks scared. Something happened here. The seaweed. All right, she's stuck. Maybe she hit her head. Oh, there's the mermaid with the rock. There she's swimming away. Oh, they're trying it again. There's some pictures of some items here, so we'll just keep looking. Uh-oh, a shark. Maybe this is the part of the story where it gets scary or the climax. Swimming away. Yep. All right, so we're just buzzing through looking at the pictures, thinking about what could be happening in the story. And when you skim, you don't have to go slowly. You can just look at them really quickly. And there we go. All right, so I'm going to go back. All the pictures of the story. And I'm going to go back to a new share so we can go back to our PowerPoint. So we looked at the title, we looked at the pictures, and we looked through the book. And one of the things I did when I was looking through the book was I was trying to figure out what was happening, okay? So that I can have a better understanding of what is happening. Now, you might ask, well, why would you do that? Wouldn't that ruin the story? Well, you don't have to go all the way through if you're worried about it ruining the story. But if you have to read, like if your teacher wants you to read it out loud, you want to kind of know what you're reading. Remember we talked about tough words and trying to figure out tough words? Well, one thing that can be helpful is going through the book and looking at some words that are a little bit tough or challenging. And you can use your time in skimming to find out what those words mean. And if you don't know or can't sound them out, you can always ask an adult to help. So let's say I'm buzzing through here and I see a word that I'm struggling with. Maybe I look and I see this word that's really pretty and I can't pronounce it. I don't know what that word is. So I might maybe write down a couple words like that word, or maybe I don't know what this word is. I look through, I'm not sure I know this word. And I write them down and then I can look them up or ask my mom or my dad to tell me what those words are and how to sound them out. And then when I get there, when I'm reading, I will know what that word means. So that's one thing that you can do when you're skimming. And you'll feel a lot more confident when you're reading because you'll know what those words mean. So I'm going to check the question answer to see if I have. Yes, we are going to read the book. We don't see that. Okay. Not seeing the slide. Oh, yes, good. I like how I see one of our friends is saying this is a book about the mermaid and also the ocean. Good, good. That's right. You can tell from the pictures. All right. Yes, it is for K through second grade. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if there's any other video. Okay. No, it's not video. All right. Okay, so we went through the skim reading. So now we're going to do a little bit of questions. So when you are reading a book, you ask yourself, now, if you're in fourth grade, I know this is a little slow. However, it can be nice to use a book that's easy to practice. So let's say I'm a fourth grader and I read chapter books, okay? Chapter books, just like picture books, have a title. So before you start reading your chapter book, you can say, what is the title of this chapter book? And I can take a chapter book. For example, I might take Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And so I say, okay, what is this book about? Well, Sorcerer is a wizard, and so it must be a book about wizards, and so magic and things like that. And so what we do when we ask what is the title, we use the title to help us understand not only what the topic is about, but it helps us understand a little bit about what we're going to read. And that's important because it helps you understand what you're reading if you have a sense of what the topic is. Now, if you're doing a chapter book, depending on, I don't think many fourth grade chapter books have pictures in them, but they might have a couple pictures. You can also look at the back of the book for I don't know how many older students we have in here, but the back of a book will have a synopsis or a summary of what the book is about. And it might be good to read that. Also, when you open the front of the book, you might read a synopsis in there. You might also want to find out a little bit about the author. For example, if I'm looking at Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, I can look at the back page, the very back binding of the book, and it will talk about J.K. Rowling and about what she writes. And then you'll know a little bit about the book that you're reading based on what the author likes to write about. Okay? Hopefully that helps. I know there's apparently an older student in the class too.
Excuse me, Vanessa, you still on page 17? All we see is page 17, so is that what we want us to see?
Oh yes, that's. I'm sorry. I have a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm also talking regularly. I guess I could. Hang on. Give me just a half a second. I'm going to go and see if I can bring up for our fifth grader or our fourth grader in here. I'm going to get it so you can hopefully see me. The video. So I'm on the side here. Can everyone see? Can you see me okay?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, so this is going to be a little difficult, but here is Harry Potter. I know it's backwards because that's the way you see. You can look at the title, and this is definitely a fourth grade book, if not older, but it still has a picture on it. And I can look at the picture and it can help me figure out what the story is about. There's also on the back a picture. Now, sometimes there's a synopsis, so if it's not there, you can look at the interior of it, and you can see there's a synopsis or a summary of what the book is about. And, oops, sorry, you can also take the book and, at the back of this one, it tells you about the prior books. So you know this is the fifth book in a series. So you might want to look about what the other books are about, so you can get caught up. And then at the very back, you can see about the author. So if I were the fourth grader, I would read, I'm not familiar with the book, because J.K. Rowling writes a certain type of book for children, and reading about her can help understand the book. Okay. So when you're looking, for example, I'll take my Sleeping Beauty book again and look at the pictures. What do the pictures mean? So as you're going through, if you look at this one, if you're familiar with Sleeping Beauty, you might say, oh, I know that. I know she pricked her finger. So that means that's when she's going to prick her finger. And this is when she falls asleep. And I remember there's a prince that comes and rescues her, so maybe that's when that happens. So the images can help you know what takes place in the story too. Okay. And yes, I'm still on page 17, that's okay. We're just going down the questions. So then also you would look and see, are there any tough words? And if you're a fourth grader, even though you're not into picture books, you're into big, thick books, maybe like the book I just showed you, Harry Potter sometimes has tough words in it. And it also, depending on what version you get, it might have words that are related to England. For example, they might say biscuits, or they might say jumper instead of sweater. And as like the first few Harry Potter books are Americanized, so they swapped those sort of colloquial or English words that are usually used in England but are different in America, and they made it so that American readers could understand it. But as they went through the Harry Potter books, they stopped doing that. So if you're planning on reading a Harry Potter book that's further up, you might find some words that mean something different than what you might think they mean. So even if you're a fourth grader, you still can look at the tough words before you start reading it. All right. So now we're going to move the slide, and we are going to have a bathroom break, because I know that some of you might need to go to the restroom. Also, we'll stretch a bit, so you can your hands over your head. You can go side to side. You can stand up. You can move around. That'll be just fine. I'm going to look at the questions. So currently, I am at 3:39. So those of you who are Eastern Standard Time, I will see you again at 3:41. So that's 2 minutes. Central Time, you are at 2 o'clock, 2:39. So I'll see you at 2:41. So if you have to go to the restroom or if you have to stretch, you can go ahead and do that. And we'll start again at about 3:41. Okay? Right. Okay, folks. I know I gave you an extra minute, but that's okay. I am going to look at some of the comments. Hi, Ian. I know sometimes you can't see me. That's because I want to make sure you can see the PowerPoint. But occasionally you will see me. Hi, Wilson. We are going to be reading the book. I know this is a little confusing, but what we're doing is we're talking about different ways or the process of reading, and we are looking at the book. Now, some of you might say, I can't see the book. I'm not sure what you mean by which book, because I have a couple of them that I've been showing, but the book that we're going to be working through is I guess I'll start up the video so you can kind of see me. Hello. Okay, so we're going to be working with the book How to Catch a Mermaid, but it's actually an ebook. Okay, and the reason why I'm using an ebook is because when I hold up Sleeping Beauty, can you actually read that, or does it look like you're looking in a mirror? You can see that Sleeping Beauty is not easy to read. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is make it so that you can practice reading as well. Okay. Okay. So let's get started with the next part of the reading process. So we talked about skimming, looking through the book, checking it out. Now we are going to talk about active reading. Okay? So this will, for those of you who might be a little older, a little younger, we're going to go through it for both younger and older. This process can work for both. Okay. So we are going to narrow down active reading to the aspect of asking questions. And this is part of the during reading process. Okay, so power readers are active readers. Okay, they are interested in what they are reading and engage or interact with the text. Okay, so before you start reading, you kind of ask yourself some questions. What do I think this story will be about? What looks exciting about this story? And you go forward. So you can do that by asking questions about what you think will happen next and making a prediction or guess. So let's practice a little bit. I'm going to go back to, I know I'm bopping around, back to How to Catch a Mermaid. And yes, we will be reading it very soon. But let's go ahead and start with the picture from the cover. How to Catch a Mermaid. What do you think is going to happen in this story? Let's make a prediction. You can't see anything on the screen. Let's see. Can't see the camera. All right. Can you see, just a question. Can you folks see the actual story? Can you see the book? Can't see the camera. Okay. All right. So here is the book. What do you think is going to happen? Well, we've seen some pictures of them trying to catch her, but apparently they're not successful. Remember, we saw some sharks coming up, and we're like, whoa, there are sharks. What does that mean? So it looks like they're going to try to catch the mermaid, but they might not be successful. Okay, so that's what my prediction is. All right, so we're going to go back and let's review a few elements of the engaging in our reading. All right, so let's think. Before we read, what do you think will happen? So remember I told you to have paper and a pencil? Okay, so what we're going to try to do is we are going to try to give you folks a few minutes, maybe about 5 minutes, and you're going to draw a picture of what you think is going to happen. Now, unfortunately, I can't see all of you, but you certainly can write in the question and answer section, describe what you drew. Please be respectful in what you're writing about what you draw. But go ahead, we're going to give you about 5 minutes, and you can use a pencil, you can use a pen, any markers you have. If you don't have pencils and paper right now, you can kind of maybe write down a few things in the question and answer box as to what you think is going to happen next in the story. Okay, so I'll give you about 5 minutes. So it's 3:47. So about 3:52 or 2:52 if you're in Central Time. We can describe what we've drawn. Okay. The girl will try to catch a mermaid. Good. Good. So that's a good guess. We still can't see anything. Well, I'm not sure if I can do anything about that. Well, while everyone is drawing, I'm seeing some things that say I can't see the PowerPoint or you. So here I am. Hello. Okay. Let me go back to the previous slide.
Vanessa, I see your presentation. It says engage, page 21. Is this where you want us to be?
Yes.
Yeah, so it must be individual issues if people cannot see the presentation. So they'll have to restart their Zoom and join back in.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
I think most of them would like to see you. They've been commenting, so I don't know. You can turn your video on.
Okay, okay. Hello, hello. Okay, so we have a few people who have given me some information on what they think. The mermaid will meet the girl in the picture. Okay, good. The girl will try to, I think, Aliana is saying the girl will try to teach the mermaid or touch the mermaid. What picture are they supposed to draw? Well, a picture of what you think will happen at the end of the story. Excuse me. I think someone asked what picture. You don't have to, I mean, it can be whatever you want. You can say what you think is going to happen first. You can say what you think is going to happen next. Or you can do what happens at the end. A girl and her friends want to catch a mermaid. Okay, good. The girl tries to catch a mermaid. Good. Hi, throwing the net to catch the mermaid. Good, good. I like how some of you are talking about what you think will happen, but we have a few of you who are giving us more details. So we have a lot of people saying that they're going to be successful. We do have Jason who's saying they're not going to be able to do it. Why do you think that, Jason? Do you think maybe that's the twist in the story? Okay, let me try to scroll down. Able to see now. Okay, good. They're going to catch her. All right. They're going to catch. All right. Why don't I ask you this? Good. Elena has a good one. I think they will try to catch a mermaid, but will not be able to. I think the mermaid will save the kids from the shark. Ooh, good. All right. Catch. Good. I'm going to try to use a net. Okay, good. I hope I pronounced your name right. Lucia, good. I think the girl is going to use a net. So, do you think she's going to be successful with the net catching? Maybe. I think they will be friendly. All right. We'll be happy together at the end. Okay, so you think it's going to end happily. Good. All right, good. I know for some of you, can you use pencils? Absolutely. Do we type here what my brother is what happened next? Yes. Yes. The reason for that is I didn't anticipate how many people there would be, and I thought I could see some of you. So I was hoping you could draw the pictures and then hold them up. Yes, she's successful. Good, good. But I can't see your picture. So I want your students, I want the students here to be able to do something with their hands, because that's part of the interaction process when you're reading, to draw a picture. But because I can't see it, I'm giving you some time, and I'm going through what I see in the question and answer box about what you've described. So you think they'll be successful, things like that. Yeah, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I am looking at what some of the other people are using. Someone has a good one. I seem to have missed the gentleman, but he said, I think it was the young man said that they're going to catch her with the jewelry box. Good. That's a good guess. Yeah. Shivani, hi. Hi, guys. All right. I'm missing. Okay, I can see the camera. Okay. Do we need a book? No. You're going to see it in just a second. All right. So we've made our predictions. Now let's see which prediction is correct. Okay. So I'm going to read to you. You can follow along. Everyone should be able to see this. If not, let us know. How to Catch a Mermaid, for the New York Times best-selling team, Adam Wallace and Andy Okerton. Alrighty. Last week, I saw a mermaid. It's not something I'd pretend. I'd really like to catch her so she could be my friend. We'd have the best adventures. I'd learn her mermaid ways. We'd tour her mermaid city. We'd swim for days and days. Hey, you two, come follow me. I need you on my team. The water's where we need to plan our mermaid catching scheme. But how to catch a mermaid? You don't learn this in school. We'll need to build a gentle trap and start near the tide pool. First, I have this jewelry box. She'll love this bait I bought her. She can't resist a treasure chest. Oh no, it's in the water. See, the crab stuck it. All right. Well, mermaids love bright, shiny things. A crown will catch her eye. We'll lure her in with this new trap, and then our nets will fly. Her seaweed lasso snaps the crown. We'll need a different plan. Let's put a sparkly necklace down inside a giant clam. She switched the necklace with a rock to stop the clam from snapping. So this mermaid's pretty sneaky. So a lot of you have predicted that the mermaid would be caught, and someone predicted she'd be caught by the trap. But we're seeing in this story that this mermaid is a little tricky. So they're going to have to find something that will catch her, and she seems to be outwitting them each time. So I wonder what will happen next. Let's find out. Now she has another prize. We need some better trapping. We made a lasso of our own and hid in the seaweed. She swam too fast for us to catch. Oh, when will we succeed? Okay, so at this point, they've tried a bunch of different ways. They tried to catch her with a net. They tried to catch her with a clam. They tried to use a similar seaweed lasso to try to catch her, and they weren't successful. So now they're trying to figure out, what do we do? Alrighty. Oh, she's swimming off. Didn't work. Now let's try to switch it up and play some funky beats. Maybe that will draw her in. Oh no, the sharks! Retreat! So when we were talking about words that we might not know, some of you might not be familiar with the word retreat. And that is a word that means run away or leave. And the reason why they have to leave is because the shark looks really hungry and might eat them. So they have to run away. So apparently the funky beats that was going to draw the mermaid to them because she likes music actually drew the sharks. So now they're in danger and they haven't caught the mermaid yet. So wonder what they're going to do. Let's see what happens. We escaped from all the sharks. That was a scary scene. But now we get to up our game with this cool submarine. Now here's another word you might not be familiar with. Submarine. And the word sub means under, and marine has to do with the ocean. So a submarine is something that you use under the ocean. So it's a little boat that you see the dog is driving there, and it's under the ocean. Okay, and now they're off. This submarine has robot arms to catch our fishy lass. Now, the word lass is another name for girl. But this mermaid can't be caught. She really is too fast. So those of you who predicted she might not be caught might end up being right. Let's see what happens. It's time to pull out all the stops. Does anyone know what that means, pull out all the stops? That means they've got to really do everything they can think of because this is going to be real hard. Okay, we have to be quite sneaky. But she heard our trap from far away. That treasure chest was creaky. Okay, so they didn't really tell us what they did, but they're pulling the stops. They're being sneaky. She heard it because there's a treasure chest. So let's see what their trap actually was. Okay, creak. So they've got a treasure chest full of gold, and they have, they're going to pick her up, pull it open, and she's going to come in, they're going to trap her. But she heard the sound, so she ran away. Ah. And now something even worse is happening. Oh no, look out, the sharks are back. We're doomed. Does anyone know what doomed means? Familiar with that word? Okay, doomed means that we're going to have something bad happen. And it's a fancy word for that. Okay, what can we do? We used up all our traps and bait. Okay, so bait, I don't know if many of you have gone fishing before, but bait is like worms or food or something to get someone to come, get a fish to come in your trap. So they've used up all of their ideas, and they have a bunch of sharks chasing them. Let's see how many sharks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sharks coming to get them. So they've got some problems here. They're going to be chased by sharks. So without some help, we're through. So what are they going to do? What's going to happen next? They're in peril here. They're in danger. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, so now we have a picture of them hiding in seaweed, and there's the mermaid. Our mermaid comes to save the day. She made a trap to save us. She scares the sharks and scoops us up. She really is courageous. Okay, so that's, for some of you, that's a pretty big word, courageous. For those of you who are in second grade, you might be familiar with maybe the word courage. And the word courage, remember, means brave. So courageous just means that she's really brave. All right. Hooray! We're safe and back on land. 3 cheers to our mermaid. We'll miss her smart and clever tricks. We wish she could have stayed. There's the sun setting and her tail. We never get to see her face because they never caught her. The end. Okay. All right, so as we were reading, you noticed I asked you some questions as to what you think will happen next. And that is because as you are reading, you're engaging with the text, you're participating in the action, you're getting excited. And that helps you with our last part of the reading process, which is thinking about what you read. So oftentimes you might have an assignment where you have to read a book at home, maybe with your parents or your guardian, and then you have to come back to school and you have to talk about that book that you read. And so for that reason, you might want to figure out what happened. Now, if you've been struggling with the book and haven't been thinking a lot as you read it, you close the book with a snap and you can't remember what you've read. So while you're reading, asking questions and getting excited about what you're reading is very, very helpful. Okay? So what we're going to do in our last step of reading is we are going to think about what we have read. Okay? All right. So here are some of the strategies for thinking about what you have read. Okay? So power reading doesn't stop once you have finished reading the book. If you did a good job reading, there will be lots to think about. When you are finished reading, you will try to ask some questions to help you. You might even make comments on what you remember, what you liked, or even what you didn't like. You might find a word or two that were new, and you might want to write them down in a notebook of new words. Okay, so I'm thinking about, I don't know if he's still in the chat, but if we have some students who are older, even though we read a very easy book, we are focusing on the strategies that we use in reading. And these strategies can be used when you're older too. So when you have finished a book, you think a lot about what the book was about the lessons you learned, or you might think about an assignment you were given from your teacher about how you're going to be using the book. So once you are finished, you will try to ask some questions to help you. So one question I might ask of all of you right now is, at the very beginning when we were thinking about the book, you had some idea of what the story was about, and then some of you made predictions and drew a picture of what you thought the story would be about. And so my question to you is, at the end of the book, did you end up being right? Yes. Okay, you were right. Good. Yes. Yes. Okay. So another question to ask is, did you like the story? Did you have fun reading it? So when you finish reading a book, you might ask, yes, we were right. Yes, no, someone didn't like it. Okay, that's fine. Okay. You might find a word or two that was new. Did anyone find a word that we were reading that you were like, I'm not sure about this word? Yes? No? Okay, kind of? Okay. Yes. Okay. Oh, I had fun reading with you too. Thank you. All right. So maybe you didn't want to write down or say that you had some words that were tough, but there were some words like courageous that some of you might not be familiar with. So you might want to even write them down in a notebook to help you with the reading. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and talk about remembering. Okay. So we finished reading How to Catch a Mermaid. We talked about, did you like the story? I was going to have you draw a smiley face and hold it up, but there's no way for me to see all of you. Let's just try that one more time. Did you like the story? And I know for some of you, yes, thank you, dear. Thank you, Maya. You didn't like it. Okay, Sandra, that's okay. No, okay, I had fun. I liked the book a lot. Good. Serena liked it. Okay. And then the other thing you can say is you can say why you liked it or why you didn't like it. The mermaid was new. Yes. Okay, good. Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of you, so I'm going through this very slowly, I know, but we're making sure we can say hello to everyone. Yes. Okay. And we already did that. What happened? Did anyone have a favorite part of the story? What part of the story did you really like? Someone really likes the crabs, when the crabs stole the treasure chest. Was anyone excited when the sharks came? I found that exciting. Yes, the sharks were exciting because I didn't think that they would have any problems. I thought they'd just be trying to catch the mermaid. So that was a twist in the story. Yeah. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to think about our favorite part of the story, and then we're going to draw a picture. So I'm going to give you, currently for me it is 4:08, so 4:13 or 3:13. I will check back in with you after you've drawn your picture to see what you drew. Trying to figure out if there's any way. Is that like that one? Yeah, okay.
We have to restart it again.
Okay, so as we're finishing up with our drawings, again, I apologize. I was hoping I could be able to see some of your drawings. All right, we have a couple of you. Priscilla likes the part where the mermaid saved the day. Did you draw that in your picture, Priscilla? No? Yep, we'll read another story. Yep. Someone really likes the crabs. Good. Okay. All right, so did everyone draw their pictures? A lot of you are telling me that you drew a picture of the crabs. Some of you drew a picture of the children being saved by the mermaid. Coming out with the jewelry box being stolen by the crabs. Did anyone draw a picture of the, what was it? When she was, or when they tried to catch her with the treasure chest? Anyone draw a picture of that? No? Not able to hear. Okay. Hope the kids. All right, good. Good. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to talk a little bit about some new words. So I know there are a lot of different ability levels here, so I'm just going to go through a few new words that some of you may have just discovered. And let's say them together. Well, obviously you'll be saying it, I won't be able to hear you, but we'll try that anyway. We'll talk a little bit about what each one means. And remember I talked to you about having a little notebook or a little list of words that were new. This can be very helpful for you when you're going through your books. So if you ever see that word again, you'll remember it. Okay, so here are a few of the words that I chose that might be a little challenging to you, depending on what level you happen to be at. So we have catch, adventures, teams, tide pool, jewelry, treasures, crown, lasso, necklace, seaweed, retreat, submarine, freaky, and courageous. And we talked a little bit about some of these. Seaweed, you might be familiar with, but it is a plant. Also, very good seaweed salad. I've had that before. It's very good. Tidal pools, those are tide pools, are in the ocean. You have like these little tiny areas between the rocks. It's part of the ocean, but it's very, very shallow, and a lot of different critters live there. Okay. All right, so let's go back and review some of the things that we've learned, because we're going to look at a book that's a little more challenging to kind of finish our group off. Now remember, we engage with what we're reading, help ourselves with tough words, and we remember what we have read, and we read with confidence. We skim read, and in skim reading, remember, we look at the title, we look at the pictures, we look through the book, we find words we don't know, and if we can't figure out what those words are, we ask for help from an adult. We ask questions like, what is the title? What are the pictures like? What does the book seem to be about? And are there any tough words? We ask questions while we read, and we think about what will happen next, and we make a prediction. When we're finished reading, we think about what we have read so we can remember it. We ask ourselves some questions, what we remember, what we liked, what happened, and we might write down some words or phrases that we learned. Okay? So now let's start with a book that might be a little more challenging for some of us. But since we have a lot of different grade levels, we're going to do that. So we now are going to be reading a book called The Kids Invention Book by Arlene Erbach. Now, like I said before, I am using ebooks because it's easier for you to read along with me. It's bigger, and as you can see with the books, when I hold them up, the video, you can see the words are backwards. So I'm going to try to make it easy for you to see and interact with the book. So I know some of you might be interested in reading a book that is nonfiction. So remember when we were looking at the picture of the mermaid and we were reading the title, and I said, this is the book that isn't about a real event. So it's just kind of like a fairy tale or a fictional story. Well, the Kids Invention Book is going to be different because this is about real events and there's no magic involved. It's going to be a little bit about science. Now, here's a word that some of you might not be familiar with, invention. Does anyone know what the word invention means? Yes? No, not really, not able to hear. All right, well, invention is where you create an object like the telephone or the lamp, and you invent it, you create it. It's never been there before. So this book is going to talk, I think, about inventions that kids have made. So remember, the first thing we do is we look at the title, and we can make a guess about what the rest of the book is about based on the title. Now we can look at the pictures and see various different types of hats, string, I think. All right, so we're going through. You'll notice, I don't know if we still have our fourth grader here, but we have a table of contents. And those of you who are younger, when you get bigger and you start reading more, you're going to see larger books that will have other chapters. And so we have Kids Are Inventors, Meet the Inventors, You Can Do It, Invention Contents, Patents, Start an Inventors Club. More information, glossary, and index. So this will help us know a little bit about what it's going to be about. We're going to learn that kids can invent, and we get to meet a few kids who have invented something. And then we're going to talk about how you can do it. So now we have some pictures here of a girl with earmuffs. We have a slinky. I don't know if you've ever used a slinky before. We have a picture of a man. It looks like he's from the 1800s. Okay. And now we have Meet the Inventors. So now we have a spoon, edible pet food spoon. Interesting. Okay, we see cat food. Fetch and throw device. Interesting. Two-door mailbox. See a mailbox there. Fish. We see something about a fish here. So as you go through the book, you can look at some of the pictures and see what it is about. Okay? And as we were looking at the pictures, we make predictions, and that's the last part of our skimming, is we think this is going to be about kids' inventions. And we looked and we saw a picture of a slinky, picture of a mailbox. I can't remember what else we saw. And some other ones. So I'm assuming that some kid actually invented the slinky. And so we're going to learn a bit more about that. So when you're reading nonfiction things like the Kids Invention book, you might end up, trying to make predictions, but it's a lot easier, you'll find, with fiction. So you might want to look for facts instead. So any book that's about information rather than about a story, you look for facts that you might need to know later on. So if you are reading a book and you're going to have a quiz at the end about what the book is about, you might want to, as you're reading, look for some of those facts you might be quizzed on. Okay, so let's begin. The Kids Inventions book by Arlene Erbach. Chapter 1. Kids are inventors too. Do you know what's unusual about earmuffs? They were invented by a kid. So if I was going through here and I was thinking, okay, I might be asked by my teacher about different types of inventions that kids have had. So the first one I would write down is earmuffs. Okay. Chester Greenwood wanted to keep his ears warm, so he invented earmuffs. They solved a problem for him. That's what inventions are supposed to do. Chester's invention made life easier for millions of other people. You may have already been an inventor too, without even knowing it. Okay, so we're going to stop there. And I'm going to ask some of you, if you have paper or a writing utensil, pen or pencil, grab a piece of paper and maybe make it 2 columns, okay? On the one side, put the word earmuffs, and on the other, write Chester Greenwood. So we're going to make a list of all of the kiddos and their inventions. And so at the end, I might ask you if someone invented something, and you can check your list to find out. And this will help you be engaged or involved in the text a little bit more, because I know that, unfortunately, since we can't talk to each other, it's a little harder. Okay. So, continuing on. You're an inventor every time you find a new way of doing something. Well, that's an interesting way of thinking about an inventor. So you don't necessarily have to create something really important like the iPad. If you find a new way of doing something, you're an inventor. Okay, let's keep reading. Have you ever made up new rules for a game? Or maybe you wiped your mouth on your sleeve when you couldn't find a napkin. Your parents may not have been thrilled when they saw you do that, but you solved a problem for yourself. Okay, so we have 2 new ways of thinking about what an invention is. The first is finding a new way of doing something, and the second is solving a problem for yourself. I think those are important things to think about as we're going through. So remember those. Okay, let's keep going. Inventions are discoveries. Okay? An invention might be a new item, like the koosh ball or slinky, or when they first appeared in stores years ago. Or an invention may improve something that already exists. Think about your TV. You probably see color on the screen, but the first TV sets showed only black and white pictures. The person who invented the color television improved something that people were already using. So we already have like 4 different ways of thinking about what inventions are. It is a new way of doing something. It is a way to solve a problem. It's a discovery, and it's improving something that people were already using. All right, let's go back to earmuffs. They were invented in 1873 when Chester Greenwood was only 15 years old. Think about it. How old are you? 15 years. That's not very old. Chester lived in Farmington, Maine. Anyone here from Maine? And he loved to ice skate. Anyone familiar with northeastern winters knows how hard they can be on your ears, even when you wear a hat. So Chester took a piece of wire and asked his grandmother to sew cloth pads on the ends. Okay, so here we have a young man who wants to ski, and it's very, very cold. Some of you may not live in the northwest of the US where it gets really cold, but you may have visited there. Some of you may have even gone skiing. And I know the one thing that gets really cold is your nose and your ears. So he asked his grandmother to sew 2 cloth pads on the end of a wire and wrap the wire around his head, and there you have it. At first, Chester's friends thought his earmuffs looked weird, but they soon changed their minds. Chester could stay outside and skate longer than they did. His ears didn't get cold. Soon Chester's friends wanted earmuffs, so he started making earmuffs and selling them. He also applied for a patent. Okay, so here we have come across a word that many of you might not be familiar with. So we can put that down. A patent is actually, to put it very simply, when you invent something new, you go to the government and you say, that's mine, and nobody else can use it without getting my permission. Okay, a patent is a document issued by the US government. It protects the inventor's idea so nobody else can make money from it. To learn more about patents, see Chapter 5. Chester began manufacturing earmuffs and eventually became rich. He became famous too. Farmington, Maine celebrates Chester Greenwood Day each December. Lots of kids, about 500,000 each year, invent things. Well, that's an interesting fact. I didn't know that. Most kids don't sell their inventions or become rich, but they do have fun creating things and seeing them work. Many of these children enter contests. Some of them win prizes. This book will tell you how you can enter these contests. You will learn how your ideas can become inventions that work. Now meet the kids who have already done it. Okay, so let's stop right there because I know that some of you might be a little tired or might want to stand up a little bit and stretch. So let's go ahead before we review what we've read so far. And let's see if you can stand up. I'm not going to stand up because you won't be. Raise your arms all the way. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Maybe go to the side, to the other side. Shake your hands out. Roll your head a little bit. And I think this would be a good time for us to break a little bit to go to the restroom if we need to. So it is currently either 3:29 if you're Central Time, 4:29 if my time, Eastern Standard Time. So let's give you about 3 minutes if you need to go to the restroom. And we'll see you at 4:32. Okay? And so those of you who are wondering why I disappeared so you folks can go to the restroom. Or I'll give you about 3 minutes, and we'll see you back here in 3 minutes.
No. You just bring it with your hands. No. Or you know what? There's a handle. Let's do it together. This is supposed to be the handle. It will be heavy on that box too. Okay? No. Okay. So you keep pulling the washing machine.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our very last part. I think what we're going to do for right now, since this is kind of like an introduction session, we're going to end a little early. Okay, we're just going to read a chapter of that book, which we did, and now we're going to talk a little bit. I think you can hear me. Let me start my video again so you can see me. Hello. So we're just going to do the last part. We talked a little bit about some of the things we were predicting, but with this type of text, which is an informative text, we think a little differently than the book we just read about the mermaid. And we talked a little bit about how we were thinking about some facts that were important. So as we're doing our thinking about what we've read, we can start off by talking about whether we liked or whether we didn't like it. I know some of you really like the mermaid story. Maybe learning a little bit about a man who invented earmuffs was interesting or different. It can help you remember what you read if you think about, I really liked that. It was really interesting. A couple of things that you can do differently with this one is you can think about some of the facts that we learned in the passage. Since this is an informative book, there are some facts that we read. So, can you remember any of the facts that we read?
Vanessa, do you mind turning on your video? Students are asking if they can't see you. Thank you.
Sorry, I keep. Oop. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. All right. Hello. All right. So let's talk. I'm looking at the question and answer section. I think that's yeah. What are some of the facts that we learned from this book? What are some of the facts? Let's see if anyone can. I'll go over a couple of them that I saw in the text. I'm going to share, new share, so we can go back to the text and look and remind ourselves. One of the facts we learned was a name, and that was Chester Greenwood. And we've learned that Chester Greenwood invented the earmuffs. And we also learned that he was 15 years old, which is pretty cool. Excuse me. And earmuffs are still used today. Obviously, they aren't scraps of felt with a string around them, but they are similar to what he invented. We learned about where he lived, and we also learned that over 500,000 kids each year invent things, which is pretty cool, because all of you are children, and you can learn a little bit about how you can be an inventor. And speaking about how you can be an inventor, we also learned a couple things about what it meant to be an inventor or to create an invention. And there were 4 things too. Does anyone remember what those 4 things were? Yes? I had fun reading with you too. Sandy and Jonah. Okay. So we learned that it was finding a new way of doing something, solving a problem, discovering something, and improving on something that has already existed. Okay. All right, so let's have you do one more picture. Why don't you draw a picture of something that you would like to invent? So if we're talking about kids and inventions, what are some inventions that you would like to create? You could think of one. I know one thing I would like to create is maybe having something that you could sit on that's very comfortable for your back. Or I know when I was little, we used to pick strawberries, and we created little mats that you can put your knees on when you're trying to sit without getting wet. You can think about maybe something that could get you to school faster, or something that you can use to write with that would make it easier. Whatever you want to do. But remember, it can be a way to solve a problem, a new way of doing something. It can be discovering something, or it can be improving something that's already there. Like you might have a cell phone. You say, you know what? Cell phones are great, but you could have something else involved with them. So go ahead and we'll give you a couple minutes to draw a picture. And while you're drawing a picture in the Q&A section, you can write down what you would invent. So we'll give you until about 4:42. And as you're drawing and thinking about it, you can write it down and let us know. I would invent a pen pencil so I don't have to keep switching. Ooh, Lily, that's a good one. Oh, Emma, it's a slinky. A slinky is a children's toy that is twisted around, and I don't know, you pull it out, you push it in. Actually, I remember we would put it on the steps and it would walk down the steps by itself. So I would like to create decorations. Ooh, that's nice. A time traveling trampoline. That's cool. Well, no, it's not designed for 6th graders. I want to invent a flying car. Cool. Cool. Fruit squeezer that extracts juice of all kinds of fruit in one machine. That's very good. Magic. Okay. So I see a lot of really good suggestions from all of you. And I just want to close with talking a little bit about what we just did here and why it's very helpful in reading. So when you are reading, to get yourself engaged, that's a good one, Trey. Thank you. And hover shoes I can fly. Anyway, when you take something that you're reading, I noticed someone said, I didn't really like this one. This wasn't as exciting as the other one. Well, if you think about something that relates to you, like what could you invent? Or I've played with this toy before. That helps you get involved in what you are reading a bit more. And sometimes you get to read stories that are really cool and fun. Sometimes you get to read stories that maybe aren't your cup of tea or something you're not really completely interested in. But you can still engage with them and enjoy reading by working to think about how you can make it exciting for yourself, thinking about what it is that you're reading about, etc. So thank you so much for participating. You all were very kind and very, very patient as we were working on things that were going on. And I will see you on Thursday. Okay, goodbye.